Hey guys, welcome back to YouTube, a unique channel. I'm Allison.
And I'm Rebecca. And today, Allison, I'm so excited. We're talking about geometry.
Woo!
So in Unique, these are lessons 24 in elementary, middle, and high, and then 23 in intermediate. And so we have today our tray that is preloaded with our attribute blocks. We have the big ones here, and then we have the small ones to the side. We also have our pattern bowls, and we have our grouping circles.
Yes, and all of those were included in your unique math kit. So you should have all of these materials and be able to do this exact lesson if you wish.
And the one thing that I did extra just to make it a little easier is I went on to Symbolsticks, which we also have subscriptions for, and I just did the 12 symbols format, and I went ahead and just made some symbols to be able to help us out. And so I have the shapes here. I also have some colors and some other math vocabulary that we're going to talk about as well, so that if we're just need a quick little visual for our students, or if we're still working on maybe those matching as opposed to more of like a free activity, then we have those visuals on hand. And they're super easy to just, it took me like 2 seconds to go in and just make the board, print it out, and we were ready to go.
It was definitely very quick. I was there.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we starting with first, Rebecca?
So we have, of course, we want to start with our chart. So this is straight from the Unique lessons, and it's actually in all of the grade bands. And so our chart goes over all 6 of the attribute or the shapes that we have, and it also talks about their attributes, and then there's an image of what it looks like. And so we can start by just reviewing, like, oh, we're talking about a circle, a square, a rectangle, a triangle, and a hexagon, making sure our students are familiar with what those shapes are. And then we're just gonna sort them. So we have our sorting bowl, we have our manipulatives, and then we're going to sort them based on the symbol that's in there. Now, if your students are a little more independent, take that away, still provide all of the same materials, and they can just decide where they want those circles, hexagons, et cetera, to go.
Now, one thing that I noticed and that I like about these flat attributes is, if you notice on here, it says flat shapes, because we do talk about flat shapes and 3D shapes. And a lot of the other attribute pattern blocks are actually blocks, and that's a little misleading because they're not flat.
Yeah, they're like foamy, yeah, a little thicker.
So these are nice because they are flat, and of course, I know I talked about this in the unboxing video, they're much easier to store because they are flat.
Yeah, and we still have our bag. We saved our bag.
So
we're gonna go through and we're gonna sort some shapes, and then we're gonna show you some different things that you could do in addition to just sorting the shapes. All right, you ready?
All right, okay.
All right, I'm gonna grab and go off my tray, super easy. Got a rectangle.
And I mean, this is something you could give each student a shape in morning meeting, or if you're doing a whole group lesson, and as it's their turn, you can make a game out of it. Who can sort their shapes the fastest? Yeah. There's so many things you could do with just this one activity.
Absolutely. And the other cool thing is, say we know all of these shapes, right? We've been doing shapes since the elementary band. We know that this is a square, is a square, is a square. Well, we go back to our chart and we start talking about more of the attributes. So instead of sorting by just what the shape is, can we sort by the attributes? So can we have the 0 sides, the 4 sides, oh, and I'm gonna slide these friends in here too because they also have 4 sides, 6 sides, and 3 sides. And so then we're not using the name of the shape, but we're only talking about the attribute. And then it becomes, you know, a little extra math. Like, let's count and
a little more advanced for those students who might need that enrichment.
Absolutely. And say we can work on that, but maybe our students need like a field of choices. Allison, which one has 0 sides? There we go. We still can use these as some choices, a field of answers, and then you did a great job. Sort it with the others that have 0 sides. What do I call that 0-sided shape?
A circle.
A circle. I love the way you answered that question, right? So that's how it could sound in your classroom.
Awesome.
All right, so now we're gonna take a look. We've sorted our by attributes. I will give a shout out. This is also one of the worksheets that's in here. You could easily turn this into like a file folder where we're using our little shapes and the student has maybe just like a handful of those little shapes that they have to go through and match and sort just maybe a little bit more independently at their seat during the station where they're getting to work independently. So I love that they actually fit.
Yes,
It's
they
super
do.
exciting. Like we can't necessarily fit this square here,
Yeah,
right? But those little ones are
perfect.
hugely vital for that kind of
Yeah,
activity.
I love it.
Then we have our grouping circles, which there is also a blue one here, but we
And I
have
wish
in
they
a-
were called grouping hoops.
Oh yeah, but then we might like turn it into
That's
like
true. But I feel
You
like
never know.
grouping hoop would have, that's a missed opportunity, but that's okay.
Don't add us next time. All right, but we know that these are shapes, right? But they're also colors. So if our students maybe need a break from the shapes and we just need to talk about colors, maybe a simpler task to build up to shapes, well, let's just sort by colors. So we can have our yellow, again, quick and easy on symbol 6, red, and then our blue, and then we're taking our shapes and we're sorting by those colors.
Okay.
So love that as an option. And the grouping circles are big enough that you could have, kind of like you were saying, a whole group or like a small group station, and we all have enough room that we can take the tray around,
Handy tray.
pick a shape, and then sort it onto the table within the grouping circle. So I love that as an option. We can also, though, in our elementary band, we're talking about maybe more of that vocabulary of big and small. So again, going back to the fact that we have the little shapes and the big shapes, right? So if we compare the two of them, which one's small? It's small. Well, which one then is big? Big. And so then we're sorting by just the size. We could also, instead of small and big, talk about same and different. So again, in those elementary bands, so we have these two shapes. Are they the same or are they different?
Same.
They're the same. Look at, they're gonna go hang out over there. What about these two? Are they the same or different?
Different.
They're different, absolutely. They do have 4 sides, but they're different in their lengths. And then as we get higher up into our middle school, high school band, that turns into a conversation about similar shapes and congruent shapes. So again, printed this real quick off of the News to You lessons, did not create this at all, but pulled it as a resource. It gives us some context, some descriptions of what those terms are. And then I did, on symbol 6, make the symbols similar shape and congruent shape, and they're the same symbols. They're the same symbols that match, so that's super convenient.
And keeping that language consistent as well.
Exactly. And so then if I have this square, and can you find another square? So are these congruent or are they similar shapes?
Similar.
They're similar, so we're gonna sort them here. But then, are these congruent or similar?
Congruent.
Congruent. I haven't used that math vocabulary
Yeah.
in a minute, and I'm glad that they had this chart here to help me refresh my memory on that, because I only taught elementary. I did not teach high school. So, here's the third way that we've used these grouping circles in one lesson with one set of manipulatives.
And
So-
the other cool thing about grouping circles
Yeah.
is you could make a Venn diagram. So for some of your students who might need some enrichment, some of your higher grade students, maybe you're talking about in this hoop goes the squares, and here are all the red shapes, and then right here are going to be all the red squares.
I love that.
So when you hold up the red square, where does it go? Is it a square or is it red? It's both.
Both. But then I have a red circle. So where's that gonna go?
In the
Just red.
But what if you had a yellow square?
So the yellow square then would just go in the squares.
So there's some advanced sorting if you need some enrichment.
I love that idea.
And if you have any other ideas on how you're using any of these materials, be sure to post them and hashtag.
Pop sped.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. Thanks.